Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time or you're new here on my channel, my name is MonayMcdaniel, and today I want to talk to my mommies about the dynamic of your relationship changing after you have a baby, after you have this newborn. Sometimes our marriage or our relationship takes a back seat to motherhood, especially if we're like new at it. So I want to share with you guys my experience and kind of how you can start prioritizing spending time with your spouse again or your mate, and making sure you're putting effort and energy into that relationship as well. So if you're interested, make sure you stay tuned in. So I just want to let you guys know before I start the video, this month, for the month of June, every Saturday that I upload, all June, I'm going to be posting some motherhood content for you guys. So the month of June will be motherhood content, so yay. And if I want to post or I feel led to talk about, or if you guys want to hear any extra topics, then I'll probably upload that video on Thursday. But for my regular Saturday videos, expect all motherhood content. Now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about what happens to you and your husband or your mate after you have the baby. So a lot of times, like I said, most of all of our energy and everything goes into now focusing on a baby. So I know from my personal experience, my husband and I got married, and we got pregnant a month after we got married. So it was crazy. We didn't have time to kind of like have a honeymoon phase. Now all of our thoughts, everything went towards the baby that's on the way now. And I thank God that we kind of were like, while we were in our courting or engaged season, we did go out a lot. We were like at a restaurant every single week. So we did spend a lot of time together, going out and stuff. And I'm glad we did, because we didn't really have a honeymoon period. So that kind of helped a little bit. But we became instant parents kind of like after we got married, and now my husband's mind as a husband is now, how am I going to provide, you know, budgeting in the baby, like baby shower expenses, hospital expenses, everything. Now his mind is on being a provider. Now my mind is on being a mommy. How will the birth go? I never gave birth. This is my first time being a mom. I'm probably terrified. No, I was terrified. I was excited. We had all these things going through our head, and our marriage kind of took a back seat as soon as we found out we got pregnant. The baby wasn't even here yet, but slowly and surely all our conversations became about the baby, and that was that. So when my daughter was born 9 months later, our marriage definitely kind of, that fire fizzled out, especially going through postpartum depression. I did post, that was my first upload to my channel, talking about my postpartum depression in depth. If you guys want to watch that, I can link the video. You guys can watch that if you haven't checked it out. And I also posted one with my husband. We both share our experience and how it affected our marriage. So we weren't being intimate. We weren't talking as much. I wasn't in the mood. I was very crabby and everything. So on top of, you know, just motherhood, postpartum depression, it really kind of just put a damper on our marriage. So eventually we did get past the postpartum phase, and we did start spending a little bit of time together, but it was still like the baby breastfeeding on me all the time. So my husband didn't have as much time to spend with me. If he was working or I was up late during the night, we wouldn't be kind of like energized to do things together. And then I also experienced this with my second child. Once we finally started going out on dates again and getting a babysitter, I got pregnant again, and it was kind of this cycle of, okay, now everything's going to go towards our second baby. And the thing that made it a lot harder for me was because we discovered with our second pregnancy that our son had Down syndrome. So now our marriage had totally kind of like took a back seat again to this pregnancy and this baby, because now we're wondering like, okay, what is Down syndrome? What is this? They're telling us he has a hole in his heart. I also made a video on that, the pregnancy experience with my son, and how crazy and chaotic it was. So if you didn't watch that, you can go ahead and watch that. I'll link that as well. But yeah, everything went towards the new baby, and now he's in the NICU, and we're wondering, is he okay? He's on breathing tubes and everything. So we definitely were just kind of like focusing on him. The question is, how did we start to, you know, build that connection with each other again, with all these things in a way, with work, with exhaustion, with fatigue, with 2 toddlers, 1 with special needs? How did we do it? How did we start to build again? Well, my first tip to my mommies who have a baby on the way, or maybe you've already had your baby and you're just experiencing this relationship lack, then my first tip to you would be the best time to start sneaking in and edging in a little bit of time is when the baby is either taking a nap or at night when the baby is asleep. Now, I know a lot of people say sleep when the baby sleeps, and that's good advice as well. But once the baby starts getting a little bit older, you know, and the baby's sleeping for longer periods of time, at least find 20 to 30 minutes to spend with your spouse or partner, even if you are exhausted. And this was a huge important part that I missed out on too, like taking advantage of. When the baby was asleep, we would just find maybe like a half-hour show to watch, or a sitcom, or just do something for those 20-30 minutes, or maybe even communicate, talk about your day. So that leads me to my second tip is start communicating outside of what's necessary, outside of the necessities. A lot of times my husband would come in like dog tired from work, I'm dog tired from the kids, and we will only talk about what's for dinner, or you know, what needs to be washed. Do you need this washed? Or you know, we would talk about maybe finance or budget for the week, but we weren't really communicating. We weren't asking each other for a long time, or for a minute, we weren't asking each other how we felt, what mental space we were in. How was your day at work? How do you feel about this? We weren't talking about current events that were going on in the world, or you know, certain things that would build a bond or build a link. We were just kind of just going through the motions and talking about what was necessary. So in order for you, just like you talk to a friend that you haven't talked to in a while, or an associate, or somebody that, you know, relationship has kind of lagged, treat your spouse like a friend, not just a spouse, not just going through the motions. Ask them different things, their opinion. How are you feeling? Or, you know, communicate outside of the basic norm that you normally would as a spouse, to start to build that communication up again, and to start to build that bond again. Also, I would recommend getting a babysitter, obviously somebody that you trust. I'm crazy about my kids, so you know, I understand that you want to make sure it's somebody you trust, make sure it's somebody that's going to respect your house and rules and everything like that. But get a babysitter. And I know you maybe you're a working mom, or maybe your spouse works, so you guys may not have as flexible of a schedule. But even if it's only for lunch, or even if it's only for maybe going out for a meal or a movie, those few hours make a huge difference, y'all. Like when we started getting a babysitter with our first child, it made a difference, because you're able to sit down without having the presence of a baby or a child that needs you. You guys can just, instead of being mom and dad, you guys for a few hours can be, you know, husband and wife. You can be, this is bae, you know, you guys can be who you need to be to each other. Sitting across the table, you know, is really romantic. I loved just grabbing a bite to eat and getting a babysitter, because those times were so needed to connect and sit across from each other and just focus on something other than a baby. Get out of the house, the same environment. Sometimes a new environment, going out to get dinner, will spark that romance as well inside you both. Next, you guys want to make designated time for each other. And what I mean by that is, obviously you can't like schedule everything like a robot. I know that situation and circumstances come up, life happens to where maybe you're not able to get a strict routine, but kind of try to designate time together. That way, maybe if you guys can plan out a month in advance, or if you're not able to, maybe at least a week in advance, like this is the day we're going to spend time on this day, this week, at a certain time period. Make sure you set aside time. That way you can go through your schedule, you can eliminate possible scenarios. Maybe you guys can take a day off work, or whatever you have to do, you guys will have a date day. Because I can honestly say that a lot of our date days that were planned in advance went a lot smoother, because we were able to eliminate distractions or possible things that will come up. So this one may be like a little bit may sound a little bit counterproductive, but if you guys are not able to at the moment get outside of the baby or take a break or get a babysitter, have your partner assist in caretaking. And I know you may say, how will that help if I have my partner assist? How is that gonna, you know, bring us closer? Well, when your partner is helping you with the caretaking, you won't feel as frazzled. Sometimes I felt alone when I was taking care of the babies by myself, if I'm honest. Sometimes I would feel alone, or like my husband didn't understand. But when he, you know, began to help, or when he would help with the kids, I felt less alone. And then we would put them down for a nap together, or we would put them to sleep together. It helped me feel better about the situation, like I wasn't alone. And we actually kind of bonded over the kids. This obviously shouldn't be your only bond, but bonding over the kids can help you feel less alone. And when you guys do finally get the kids down for sleep, or when you do get that extra help, it can create a spark, because it's romantic for your partner to help with the kid, and for you to feel like they're understanding where you're coming from when you're burnt out, when you're tired. Just having that extra hand from your partner or your spouse or your husband can go a long way and can help you guys bond. So my last tip for bringing you guys back together, kind of spending that time, making it a priority and bringing that spark back to your marriage after having the baby, is find new activities. I cannot stress this enough, what it did for my marriage after having the kids, because sometimes we fall into a routine. Okay, say you are doing date days, but you're doing the same thing over, or you're doing, you know, like repetitious kind of date days or spending time. Sometimes you want to get outside of that norm. And I'll tell you why, because it creates a spark. If you guys find something new that you both mutually like to do, or maybe you guys are just trying for the first time and you find out, hey, I'm actually good at this, or hey, my spouse is good at this, you guys can challenge each other to whatever activity it may be. I recommend doing some kind of physical activity. Maybe if you guys aren't doing something like skiing, bike riding, if you guys aren't into that, maybe like painting with a twist, or just doing something maybe that you guys have not did before. And that can create a romance as well. Like, this is outside of the norm. We're getting to know each other a little bit better. You're getting to know, like, hey, my spouse actually likes this, or I actually like this. And so with finding that new activity and doing different things like that, it can make you feel like you're bonding with your spouse and finding out even more about them that you didn't know, or finding out even strengths about yourself that you didn't know. So that's always a fire starter for my marriage. So I hope this video helped you guys. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Make sure to share with other moms that may need this. Also, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell button. That way you'll be notified and you won't miss a single post. I'll see you guys in the next video. I love you guys. Bye.